Your senior pastor was on fire. Sunday morning rolls around, the vision is big, the room feels electric, people are buying in, they're nodding, some of them are literally taking notes, and everybody's excited. And then Monday hits, and you have your staff meeting, and it's the same vision that gets unpacked. It's still inspiring, it's still exciting, but by Tuesday morning, youth pastors staring at a Google document, wondering how reaching the next generation really translates to his Wednesday night programming. And your worship leaders trying to figure out if the vision means contemporary music or does it mean we're going back toward hymns? Nobody seems to know. The executive pastors drowning in logistics because nobody thought about all of this stuff on Sunday. And the gap between Vision Sunday and Tuesday morning is really real. And if you don't close it, your team is going to drown in it. So we're going to talk about that today because it happens in a lot of churches. The buzz doesn't and the hype doesn't match what really actually happens. So we're going to talk about that here on the Healthy Church Staff Podcast today. My name's Todd Rhoades, one of the co-founders over at chemistrystaffing.com. So glad you've joined us here on the podcast today. All right, so let's unpack this whole thing a little bit, all right? What's actually happening here? That vision to execution gap that I hopefully gave you at the beginning, at the top of this podcast. I was reading something put out by the Unstuck group recently. I love those guys, about the roles an executive pastor cannot delegate. And one hit me pretty hard, and it's the gap between the vision and the execution, because that kills more churches than bad vision probably ever will. And here's the thing about it. Vision is supposed to be inspiring. It's supposed to be big picture. But inspiration without that translation of how it's actually going to get done is just going to leave your team guessing. And that's where the gap is that we're talking about today. Guessing leads to frustration, leads to drift. And drift leads to disengagement. And what you end up with is really a room full of people working really hard on things that just don't connect. So where do the wheels fall off? Where does this gap happen? Vision usually gets cast from the stage, right? We know that. It sounds amazing. It's all really exciting. People buy into it, but nobody thinks to tell the children's pastor what it means for Sunday morning check-ins. The senior pastor or the board maybe doesn't think to tell the worship team if this changes the song selection philosophy, or tells the campus pastor if this affects his budget or his staffing model. So everybody, they're excited too, but they go back to their corner on Monday morning and Tuesday morning, and they try to interpret that vision that they just heard through their own lens. And 6 months later, the senior pastor wonders why the vision just doesn't seem to be catching on with the team. And the hard truth is, it's not that your team doesn't believe in the vision. They're just as excited about it as you are, most likely. It's that your team doesn't know what it means for them on Tuesday. So listen, this isn't about beating up the visionary leader. I love visionary leaders. Casting vision is hard, and it's necessary, and it should be inspiring. But vision without translation, vision that has all the hype and the excitement, and this is the hill we're going to charge, and then we never charge a hill, that's just a good sermon. And if you're a senior leader, you can't just assume that your team automatically knows how to take what you say in your vision and make it reality in their own departments. If you're the executive pastor or ops leader, this is your job. You're the translator. And if you're the staff member in the middle, you should have the permission to ask, what does this mean for my area? And that's the start on how we start to close the gap, how to bridge the Vision Sunday and the Tuesday morning. Okay, let me talk first of all to senior leaders, senior pastors, those that are casting the vision. Stop after you cast the vision and ask a couple of questions. What did you hear? And what does this mean for your area? Don't assume that they automatically get it. Don't assume clarity. You need to test for it, because your job isn't just to inspire. That's half of it. The other half of your job is to equip your team to translate that inspiration into action. So you need to give them some language, give them some examples, give them permission to ask the question. Okay, so that's if you're a senior leader. Todd, what if I'm an executive pastor or an operations leader? You're the bridge, right? So own it. Your job is to take that big vision that your senior leader has and break it into little digestible, actionable pieces. You need to meet with each department and ask, hey, based on what you heard, what do you think changes for you? And then help them connect the dots between Sunday's big ideas and Tuesday's to-do list. I don't think about this as dumbing down the vision. That's not what I'm talking about. This is just making it real for the individual people on your team. All right, so we talked about senior pastors. We talked about what your role is if you're an executive pastor. What if you're a staff member? If you don't know how the vision affects your area, you need to say something, okay? Ask the question, can you help me understand what this means for youth ministry? Don't wait for somebody to hand you clarity, because that clarity might not come. If you don't ask for it, they might just assume that you get it. So if you don't get it, you got to go get it, okay? And that starts by asking some questions. And when you do figure it out, share with your team because they're wondering too. All right, so here's what it actually looks like in practice. Let's say the vision is we're going to become a church of discipleship, not just attendance. Great, love it. Very inspiring. But what does it mean? Okay. Does it mean the small groups become mandatory? Does it mean that Sunday school shifts from seeker-focused to believer-focused? Does it mean that the kids' curriculum changes? Does it mean that we stop counting attendance and start tracking, something else? Small groups, maybe? You see the difference? Vision gives the direction. It tells you the direction you're headed. Strategy gives decisions. And your team absolutely has to have both of those. If you only give them the vision, they'll fill in the blanks themselves. And the way they fill in the blanks might not be the way that you want them to fill in the blanks. And you'll end up with 10 different strategies under one confused umbrella that doesn't look anything close to what your vision is. All right, so here's the bottom line. Vision without translation creates confusion, not momentum. Listen, your team wants to run with a vision. They just want to know where to run, how fast to run. And if you give them that clarity and they buy into your vision, watch out, because things are going to start to happen. All right, I hope this has been helpful for you today. If there's any way that I can help you or your church maybe work through how to narrow this gap between Vision Sunday and Tuesday morning, we help churches all the time with strategy, staffing strategy, just overall vision strategy. I'd love to be able to have a conversation with you, see if there's a way that we can come alongside and help. You can reach out to me anytime. podcast@chemistrystaffing.com is the email address. All right, that's it for today. We'll be right back here tomorrow. Hope you'll join me. Tomorrow we're going to talk about what you have to do or what you should do before you cave under pressure. That's something that a lot of us deal with in church leadership. So hope you'll join me right back here tomorrow for that.